Hey, welcome back. I've been doing pretty okay. I thought I would be getting lost a lot more, but I only got lost. I only had to look through the walkthrough once. So. But now I'm in the dark world. I'm gonna get lost in here for sure. But I got my super boots. Whoa! Look at how high I can jump now. Whoa! It is interesting how, whenever I write these notes, I think of so many things to say, and I just keep thinking. Like at work today, I was thinking of a bunch of stuff to say, but when I have to recall it, it's a lot harder to remember all this stuff. Can I get up there? Ooh, cool. Usually I can just remember a little bit extra of what I wrote down, and that's it. Jump, jump. So I wrote down this note right after I left work because I read this article in the Atlantic about what's happening. Christianity. I don't know. I didn't have any work to do, and it's the end of the day, and I was just thinking, like, I think I was looking at a 538 article that was saying it was like a political thing. It was like Christians are voting more for Trump, but there are less of them than there used to be. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's interesting. Why? Does anybody have any like research on why Christianity is decreasing? So I looked. There's been polls like all the way back to 1940 about asking people, are you religious? Do you go to church and stuff? And from 1940 to like 1990, it was pretty much between 80% and 70% said, I go to church. Most of those people are Christians. What do I do in this room? I go to church, or I'm a religious person. One of those things. 80% of people. And then in 1990, it started decreasing. And this article is like, well, why did that happen? What is this? I don't know. Oh, it's a temple key. It's a temple key. It's a temple key. This is one of the three. Okay, that's gonna be tough. I don't like when you have to like find keys and stuff. That's not fun. But I found one. It's always like, oh, you found two, and then where's the third one? And you have to look up the walkthrough. How do I get down there? So this Atlantic article, it wasn't very scientific. It was just like this dude saying like, well, this is why I think Christianity is decreasing. It said deactivated, didn't it? What lock? Do I want to even go down there? I don't know. And he said it was mostly a political reason. He writes for The Atlantic, which is kind of a political magazine, so he's obviously a little bit biased. I don't know if it's probably not. It doesn't all have to do with politics, obviously. No, I can't go. No, I don't know. I'm just gonna go back. I'm scared. Weep, 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 weep. Let's heal here. What was the reason? I didn't actually write it down, but it was because I guess this makes sense, but sometimes the things that make sense aren't actually true. He was saying, for a bunch of reasons, in the 1990s, Christians became more connected to politics. I guess before that they didn't used to be. And I don't know, like, I don't think... I mean, the easiest thing I could say is, like, well, Jesus wasn't a political. he wasn't a politician, so... If we're supposed to be like Jesus, maybe we shouldn't be so political. I think I mostly agree with that. Like, we should just be helping people and just being good people. And we're part of the country, so we should vote, but we don't have to be, like, involved in politics. Jesus wasn't, like, trying to change laws and stuff. But he didn't really live in a democracy, so it's a little bit messy. Where am I? Where am I? For a couple of reasons, I guess the only one I can think of is Roe versus Wade. Like, because that happened, Christians became more political. Okay, you can't open that door. It says I can. No, it says I can open this door. Where is it? I don't see it. There it is. Where am I going? Where am I going? Where am I going? Where am I going? Ah! What am I doing? I don't know what to do. I'm gonna die. Oh, okay. There we go. I need to heal. Let's take some time. Wait, what happened? Whoops, I might die. I might die and I haven't saved. I might die and I haven't saved. Oh god, this is bad. Need to focus. Where's the save point? I should go back there. I have 7 minutes. And it's interesting how, yeah, I mean, Christianity and conservatism has kind of been entwined when it never really used to be that way, because if 80% of people are Christians or are religious, then... And there were a lot of Democratic presidents and liberal presidents before. So obviously, there were a lot of liberal Christians before. But over like the past 30 years, it's been kind of combined, that like conservatism and Christianity. So, I mean, it is interesting how if you're like a young person and you grow up in that kind of a spectrum or whatever, and you want to be a liberal person, you think, well, I can't be a liberal and a Christian, so I guess I can't be a Christian because I want to be a liberal more. It's weird that they choose the liberalism more than the Christianity and be like, oh, I want to be a Christian. But that is kind of how it works. Like, they're just like, oh, I want to be a liberal, or I am a liberal person, so I can't be a Christian. I mean, I would describe myself as a liberal person and also a Christian. I don't think they conflict. I don't think I'm really that liberal, though. Progressive or whatever. I guess I have the mindset of like, we could be doing more, but I could imagine myself being in a world where like we're way too liberal, and I'm like kind of scared of how liberal we are, so I would vote for conservative people. I could imagine that, but I don't feel like I live in that world. I think like we're a little bit too conservative and we're too afraid to help people, and we could be helping people more. Like, not a lot more, but just like, I mean, just try a little bit and see what happens. There's bad guys in here. Ah. But they can't come in my bubble, right? Ah, there's my bubble. He's in my bubble. I'm getting out of here. Why did I just make a... Oh, I wanted to save. Okay, there's a save point. Can I get to it? I don't know. Go. Okay, we're good. I guess that makes a little bit of sense. I don't know if it's exactly right. Like, this directly caused Christianity to decrease by 20% in 20 years. There must be a lot of different factors. It's that whole, like, correlation doesn't equal causation thing. Another big thing you could look at is, like, in the 1990s, what happened? Well, there was an internet. I mean, that affects a lot of people's lives. Maybe the internet caused people to be less religious. And it didn't have anything to do with politics. Just like people interacting with people or seeing ideas they never saw before and stuff like that. I can go that way? Can I? What's a P? A portal. Let's do it. I watched the first... After I watched the trial of the Chicago 7, I watched the first episode of The West Wing, because I'm like, oh, I like Aaron Sorkin. I had watched The West Wing a while ago, for the first time, on Netflix, like maybe 5 years ago. My nose is itchy. Oh, it's in there. In the first episode, the president uses a term... I don't remember ever hearing it, but I must have, because I've seen that episode before. He says, post hoc ergo proctor hoc, which means something like because before, therefore after, something like that. Which is a logical fallacy. I don't know where I'm going. Okay, can I make it? Just because something happens before something else doesn't mean that it caused it, which is kind of like the same thing as correlation doesn't equal causation. Oh, I can't get in there. But there's a portal. How do I get in there? I got a double jump, and that's about it. So I looked up that definition on Wikipedia, and it said, whoa, that's a big one. That's a big one. Okay, I can't go there. Where do I go then? Well, I got the key. Is that all I'm supposed to do? I guess I have to go back to the light. Yeah. And then I'll save. I mean, I'm done for today, so I'll just save and be done with it. I might die. Who knows? So you can say, no, I don't think this is it. This is something else. But I thought it was interesting. Because I'm sure I've had this kind of a fallacy. Even when I've talked, I mean, I've done 700 episodes or whatever. I'm sure I've done this fallacy before, but you could say the room is... Yeah, this isn't the I shouldn't even mention it if it's not the post hoc. Well, let's just Wikipedia it. Because I give examples. Post hoc ergo, after this, therefore, because of it, is an informal fallacy that states since event Y followed event X, then event Y must have been caused by event X. Was this the one with the lamp in the dark room? No. Vaccine hesitancy. People see other Others diagnosed with illnesses shortly after vaccines and assume that the vaccines caused the illness. A tenant moves into an apartment building and the building's furnace develops a fault. The manager blames the tenant's arrival for the malfunction. Oh, affirming the consequent. This was one I never heard of, but I liked it. Is a formal fallacy of taking the true conditional statement. If the lamp were broken, then the room would be dark, and invalidly inferring the converse. The room is dark, so the lamp is broken, even though the converse may not be true. Let's look at some examples. This is fun, right? If Bill Gates owns Fort Knox, then Bill Gates is rich. Bill Gates is rich, therefore Bill Gates owns Fort Knox. That's not true. If an animal is a dog, then it has 4 legs. My cat has 4 legs, therefore my cat is a dog. Yeah, so I'm sure you hear that, like, rhetorically, when people talk about, like, arguments and stuff, they make those kind of fallacious arguments where they're like, because this happened, that means that this... I took a logic class in college, and I kind of liked it. I don't really remember most of it. But the whole point of the class was to help you develop, like, actually sound arguments that didn't have any fallacies in them. Like, the one that everybody talks about is like a straw man, where you create an argument and then you argue against that thing instead of arguing against the person's arguments. You say, like, well, you must be saying this. You said this, so what you mean is this, and that's not true. But he's like, well, I didn't say that, I said this. And there's, like, the slippery slope, which is like, well, if we do this, then what's next? We gonna do this? So that was fun. I never heard of that one. What's it called? Confirming the consequent? What does consequent mean? Affirming the consequent. Confusing of the inverse. Well, there's a lot of stuff here. I'm gonna just read all this stuff when I end today. Confusion of the inverse is a logical fallacy whereupon a conditional probability is equated with its inverse. That is, given two events A and B, the probability of A happening given that B has happened is assumed to be about the same as the probability of B given A. I need an example. When there is actually no evidence for this assumption. That's a long example, and there's a lot of letters that are numbers. What are those? Example 2. Well, these are pretty complicated. It's not as easy as the other one. I'm getting like these like graphs with like in these grids with charts. Can you see these things? Well, probabilities. Who wants to do that? Let's see. Let's read it. I'm gonna read the whole thing. What the heck? In one study, physicians were asked to give the chances of malignancy with a 1% prior probability of occurring. What does prior probability mean? The prior could be the probability distribution representing the relative proportions of voters who will vote for a particular politician in a future election. A test can detect 80% of malignancies and has a 10% false positive rate. What is the probability of malignancy given a positive test result? Approximately 95 out of 100 physicians responded that the probability would be 75%, because physicians believe that the chance of malignancy given positive result were approximately the same as the chances of a positive test result given malignancy. The correct probability is 7.5%, derived via Bayes' theorem. Okay, I actually do remember looking at this stuff and maybe not even understanding it right. Okay, here's a good example. Most accidents occur within 25 miles from your home. Therefore, you are safest when you are far from home. That makes sense. Okay, I understand it now. Because obviously, most accidents occur within 25 miles because that's where you're traveling the most. Like 80% of your travel is within 25 miles. And 20% is outside. But if you have 2 accidents within 25 miles and 1 accident outside, that means you're actually more likely, if you're outside, to have an accident because it's only 20%, which is less than half, and 2 is more than half of 1, or 1 is half of 2, right? Hard drug users tend to use marijuana, therefore marijuana users tend to use hard drugs. I don't understand how that works. Terrorists tend to have an engineering background, so engineers have a tendency towards terrorism. The Monty Hall problem. Oh, the Monty Hall problem. I like this one. I'm like 20 minutes over. Whoops. Suppose you're on a game show and you're given the choice of 3 doors. This one's interesting. It doesn't really, intuitively, it doesn't make any sense at all, but it's true. So, suppose you're on a game show and you're given a choice between 3 doors. Behind one door is a car, behind the other, goats. You pick a door, say number 1, and the host, who knows what's behind the doors, opens door number 3, which has a goat, and says, do you want to pick door number 2? Is it to your advantage to switch your choice? The answer is yes. It doesn't feel like it makes sense, but the door was that the contestants should switch to the other door. Under the standard assumptions, contestants who switch have a 2/3 chance of winning. Right. Because when you're picking... Okay, I'll end there. I'll try to explain it. I should just read it, but I'll try to explain it from what I remember, so I sound smarter. When you're picking the doors, you have a 1 1/3 chance of picking the car, and a 2/3 chance of picking the goat. So if you pick 1/3, then the person opens the other door. There's still a 2/3 chance of there being a car in the other 2 doors, and they took one of the chances away. So if you pick the door that they asked you to switch to, you actually have a 2/3 chance of getting the car. It doesn't really make sense, but if you test it, it works. Like, I remember doing this. There's a website where you can test this, where it does that, and it says, well, pick a door, and then they choose the door that's a goat, and then they say, do you want to switch? And you say yes, and 2/3 of the time you get the car. It doesn't make sense, but it works. I don't know how. And the extreme example is Let's Make a Deal, where I think it was like 26 options, and they would say, sometimes you would get down to the last case, and you would have, not Let's Make a Deal, what's it called? Deal or No Deal. You pick a case out of 26 options, and you hold on to that case, and then they slowly open cases. You know how it works. You've seen it. And then sometimes the contestant would get down to the last case, where it would be his case, which would be like which could be $1, and then the other case, which could be $1 million. And the host says, okay, do you want to switch cases? Under this, what's it called? The Monty Hall problem. You would have to be insane, and you would also be, you would basically be guaranteed to win the $1 million if you switched, because you'd have a 25 and 26% chance. Is it 26 cases? It doesn't make sense, but it works. I don't know how. So you'd have a 96% chance of getting the $1 million if you switched, and you'd have the same chance of getting the $1 million if you kept the case that you did when you picked out of all 26. Because when you picked, you have a 1%. You have a what, 4% chance of picking the $1 million, and you have a 96% chance of not picking the $1 million. So you remove all the other options, you still have a 96% chance in that clump that you didn't pick, and it's all kind of contained in the one case. So you gotta take that 96%. Math is weird. I don't know how it works, but it does. So, see you tomorrow. Bye.